but special conversation for you guys today. Always finding the next conversation to help enlighten you, fulfill you, and bring you to the next level. Today, my guest, boy, does he have a lot to say. But most importantly, all you hip-hoppers, all you rich guys and girls, we got some deep toy conversation that's going to go on. Welcome today on the On Impact podcast, Anthony Rumeo. Just like the car, right?
Just like the car. I have to actually spell it incorrectly, so it's spelled R-U-M-E-O now, but that's only because my family's immigrants. When they came here, they messed it up. But technically, my real last name is Romeo, like Alfa Romeo, like you said.
Yo, which is kind of crazy that, you know, your
business. I find myself in that business.
Is it ordained? Is like, what do you think about that sometimes?
So
tell the people about you first, because we don't want to let them not know. Set them up.
So, like you said, my name is Anthony Rumeo. I am the CEO and president of Squadra Veloce, Rad Motorworks, and as of 60 days ago, the managing partner of McLaren North Jersey.
That's a stunt.
It's been a decade of busting my ass to get to where I'm at now, and I find myself to be incredibly fortunate, and I don't know if you want to use the term blessed, but that's how I feel. I feel incredibly grateful to find myself in the position I'm in. You could do what I do indefinitely for forever and not find yourself owning a franchise store. There's an enormous departure from doing what I did. I've owned my own exotic boutique in Florida for 7 years, selling everything: Lamborghinis, Bugattis, Ferraris, Porsche,
now you talking.
Bentley, Rolls-Royce.
Now you're talking. So what I want to unpack and really discuss is because a lot of us who find ourselves in entertainment, right? Because I think selling high-end cars is a means of entertainment because it's a different skill set.
Certainly.
Right? It's a different audience you approach, and there's definitely a different consumer that you feed. So there's a lot of parallels, both in entertainment and in music,
Certainly.
right? And the first thing that you do when you get in your starter kit, when you get your first check, it's several things you do. You buy a piece of jewelry.
I was just going to say, chain.
You buy a watch, and you buy a car.
Sure.
Right?
Yep.
And
you've arrived.
And you've arrived, and 9 times out of 10, you don't even know what you're doing.
No.
So who is the consumer, right? And I want to just delve in a little deeper because, you know, I thought there are artists that will never make the amount of money their entire career for cars you sell.
Oh, that's categorically true. That's categorically true. So, the last 45 days have been. Can we curse?
You can do whatever you want.
All right. The last 45 days have been fucking bananas for me.
Why is that?
I've bought $25 million in special cars, stuff that you cannot get. Doesn't matter how much money you have, billionaires are turned away. And I find myself owning these cars right now. One of which is a Ferrari Monza SP2. That's a $4 million car. I bought a matching pair. The second one is a Ferrari SP3 Daytona. They match. They're both black and yellow. Afterwards, I can show you pictures. That's a MSRP $2.8 million car. They are selling for triple MSRP on the secondary market because that's how few people got them.
It's 24 million?
No, so 2.8. So they're selling for like $7-8 million bucks. So I have the matching pair of those. I told you I leave for Japan on Tuesday. I'm making a foray into Singapore. I'm buying an AMG Project 1, one of only 200 that were made for the whole world. That's a 3.3 million euro Mercedes-Benz. I was in Florida twice this week. I delivered a Ford GT to a VIP client, which if you don't know what that is, I can explain it to you. And then I delivered a Bugatti Chiron, one of 207, to
So you know there was a famous song, one of my favorite rappers of all time. I think I bumped somebody out to put Future in, right? I don't even want to talk about the list, but
I don't know how he woke up.
He woke up, but it was a real dream. He woke up, and the Bugatti that he was in was Lil Wayne's. That Lil Wayne kept its Circle House.
Sure,
but that was the first time when I went to the studio. Most people don't even come in contact with a Bugatti, and that was a mill, I think, back then.
Yeah, so the car you're talking about is a Veyron. So those were the first, not the first. The first iteration of a Bugatti really was the EB110, which is a 1990s supercar, which are completely undervalued. You can buy one of those for like $500 to $700 grand. That's an investment piece for all you guys that have cheddar. You buy an EB110 and you put it away, that car's going to be $1.5 million in a few years, no question about it. You double your money. That's another concept that there is an asset class of automobiles.
I was going to ask that.
Yeah,
like, where's the business in? So there's a business play.
Yep.
And there's a luxury play.
Sure.
Who are those folks? Like,
Totally,
and where do you sit?
Those are totally different people, and I sit kind of in the middle. So I'm just crescendoing into investment class now. And the cars that I just discussed with you are investment grade vehicles. Your Bentley, your regular 488 Ferrari, your Lamborghini Huracan and Aventador. These are nice cars. These are exotic cars. People strive to get them, but these are not investments. These are depreciating assets at best. Put your money in it, but expect there's going to be a dollar cost value of ownership. It's going to cost you money. Now, there's an entire different class of automobile where it's like wearing a Rolex. I bought this for $30,800. It's worth $42,000 now. I get paid to wear this watch. People get paid to drive these cars or to just own these cars. That's an investment vehicle. Those are different things, and they are eons and worlds separated by each other. Some of my really good friends who I do a ton of business with in Miami is a company called Curated. Mm-hmm. And they specialize in that asset-based automobiles.
So Brickell Motors don't matter, right?
No.
I'm taking my cars back to them because
not,
they never gave this conversation.
Correct. So they do a great job. They do a great job. I know those guys. I bought cars from them in the past.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't that far from there. So my shop in Florida was in Pompano Beach.
Okay.
So I was in Pompano Beach for 7 years, doing a similar business to Brickell Motors, just an independent, exotic boutique dealership. Mm-hmm. But there are, just like in the music business, there's levels to this shit, and there is a large disparity between the levels. You got a Ferrari 458, you're doing better than 99.8% of people, and then there's these guys, and it doesn't even compare. It is not even quantifiable. I have a client that buys a car from me once a month. That is
a broker?
No, a client.
I just want to clear that up.
Yeah, no, an end user. He's a real estate developer. In the last 75 days, I've sold him $10 million in cars.
75 days. Okay, so he has a warehouse.
He
He has a facility.
So yes, but he owns a multitude of homes with enormous, sprawling garages that he's designed. Almost, you could say he's designed these homes around the garages. Yeah.
So how many cars is in his fleet?
Right now, he's got 25, but cycling every month. Because once again, he only buys investment-grade vehicles. And those don't come up that frequently.
You know what's really interesting? And I was looking at, I guess, the most expensive McLaren, because you own a McLaren dealership.
I do now, yes, sir.
Right. 20 million F1?
The F1.
The F1.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
and what's so crazy, I guess in 1990, these were the cars, right? They were $1 million cars.
They were, yeah.
In the 90s.
Yeah, in the 90s,
right?
It was like $1.5 million. So same time that Ferrari made a hypercar. So in the 90s, the F1 was versus the F40. Lamborghini had at the time, the Diablo would have probably been their craziest car.
There's a Japanese.
Porsche had the 959.
So on that car, that's late 1990s. Mm-hmm. I think there's only less than 300 miles. So these guys and women, and I want to talk about, who's actually the consumer. What are they doing with them? Is it all part ego? You've also talked about the investment aspect of it, but when does someone get introduced to, all right, I have obviously crazy cash.
Sure.
Now I want to play a little bit. Because buying a car is different than buying a painting or buying a watch.
100%. So, but some people consider it similarly. So this is an enormous point of contention among automotive enthusiasts or gearheads or piston heads, whatever you want to call them. Like people that want and can't do it are envious of people that have it. And that's kind of built into anything of significant stature, right? So you got these people that are really enthusiastic about these cars, and then they get upset when people don't drive them. They're like, whoa, I wish I had this car. I would drive it all the time. Great. If you can do it, drive it. This guy just wants to enjoy it. And maybe his level of enjoyment is he looks at it and he walks in the garage and he just stares at it like a piece of art. So people use things differently, and there's a different stimulus or impetus for the purchase or for the acquisition. Some people, like you said, are doing this for ego. And that is probably 95% of the Florida market. That's why that's such a great market to sell exotic cars. Not really investment grade vehicles, but exotic cars. Because if you make $100,000 in Florida, you drive a $200,000 car. And when you can't afford that, guess who comes in and buys that thing from you? It's your boy. Mm-hmm. So yeah, me personally, I have 3 cars, 3 Ferraris in my collection, and I beat the shit out of them. I beat the shit out of them because it's been my dream. It was my dream since I was a child. I woke up every day for the sole purpose of owning my first Ferrari. So now that I have them, they get used aggressively. I drive them with no traction control. If I'm making turns, I'm sideways. I take them to the track. I use them. But that's me. It's not everyone.
So a $20 million car, and let's talk about maintenance, right? Because obviously the car is not being driven, which also too can create its own set of problems.
Certainly.
Like people who have Porsches and they sit, it's obviously the tires,
sure,
right?
Tires get dry rotted.
Tires get dry rotted. The hosing. There's a lot of the settling in the pan with the oil. So how does a car worth that value that's never never being operated? Why does it maintain its value?
So once again, you got to think when you're talking about a McLaren F1, that is no longer a car. It doesn't matter if it performs.
Whatever it is.
Correct. No. So
I understand.
What I'm saying is,
I got your point.
Yeah, what I'm saying is, so the initial answer to your question is, if you're not going to drive these cars, all the fluids are removed, which protects the structural integrity of the car and the hoses, like you said. The tires are usually kept on platforms that maintain the curvature of them so they don't dry rot. And then regardless of if they're driven or not, especially with something like a McLaren F1, they still get annual services. And that impacts the value of the car. So you can have a car that's never been driven that has service records every single year. Tens of thousands of dollars are spent on a car with no miles to maintain the integrity of its value. And that's the difference between... So there's a few questions you ask, not to jump off on a tangent, when you're buying a car like this. The provenance. Provenance is who's owned it, where did it come from, did it originate as a U.S. specification car, did it originate from a different country, and who and or how many owners are. And then
why is all this important? Because if I'm a ball player, or if I'm a rapper,
sure,
right, somebody's more than likely someone is doing this purchase for me.
Sure.
How would you educate someone?
And that's a point I'd like to discuss too.
Should.
That's a point I'd like to discuss too. Because those guys that are handling your purchases are fucking you.
Ooh, how?
Categorically, every time, anytime I deal with a middleman or a handler, those guys are making money on the deal.
Big on it,
yeah,
right?
dude, I'm paying them. That car is costing you more money because you didn't call me directly. Your boy is making 10 bands, or 20 if the car's big, or 40 if it's bigger than that. I've paid $100,000 commissions to handlers.
Really?
Dead ass. So that's a totally different topic. That's your industry.
Right.
These guys collectively, if you come from absolutely nothing and then you come into unbelievable, unbeknownst wealth to you, you're not disciplined and you don't know who has your back, and everybody's got their hands in your pocket, and that happens. That is ubiquitous in my industry. So
who is the consumer? Who is the consumer? Male, female? What's the demographics of?
I would say it's got to be 95-5. 95 male to 5% female. Now, there's a contingency of females that are really into cars. So I just moved back. I'm from Jersey originally, but I just moved back here. Prior to this, I lived in Michigan for a year. I was recruited to run 6 stores for a really big corporation. I ran Lamborghini, McLaren, Aston Martin, Bentley, Rolls-Royce, and Maserati. And we had a client at that store, extremely hyper wealthy couple. The husband, it's irrelevant what he did or whatever. Not a car guy at all. He drove a S-Class Mercedes just because it's the nicest, smoothest car you could think of. And she had personally $40 million in cars. And I'm talking aggressive race car cars. Like this chick drove for real. She had a Aston Martin Valkyrie coming, a Valhalla. She got a Ferrari SP3, like wild multi-million-dollar aggressive cars. So there is that small contingency of women that are into it like that. But it's an incredible minority.
Wow. So when so your client base, I would imagine, is very exclusive, or is it not?
So
how are people finding you?
So it's both. It's both. So in this investment grade, the cars that I mentioned earlier that I've been doing presently, this is an extremely VIP clientele that have found me through word of mouth, through word of mouth in the industry. This is a very, very small circle of people that deal with this kind of car. And not only investment grade, but just exotics in general. So if you think about...
Are these the million plus?
No, exotic. I think an exotic car could be anything 150 grand and up. Mm-hmm. That's really what I think, just a regular exotic car. And then I think investment grade vehicles, I think, is less about the dollar amount and more about the production numbers and rarity. I think that's really what drives an investment grade vehicle. How many did they make? How many still exist? That kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So cars that are numbered, for example. So like the SP2, they made 299 of those for the world. So think about there's 17 or 1900 billionaires in the world. What percentage of those people?
That number floats. We
it
don't
does.
know what's real
we
or not.
don't know either.
And then it's under 4,000.
Correct.
Ranges, and you know what? That's an interesting point too, because everyone talks about billionaire status and generational wealth and all those things, which you should strive for, right?
Sure.
But then you want to get to like the everyday reality, kind of like, let's touch that million first.
Yeah.
Because there's less than 4,000 billionaires on the planet.
Sure.
Right. So I would imagine you guys got them all on speed dial, right? To a degree. Right?
There's
in the universe.
I certainly have a few.
Right.
I don't have anywhere near that number, but I like verified. I know for a fact 10 in my phone.
Because it gets convoluted.
10 with a B for sure.
Right.
And then
not value. Not net worth.
No. Like liquid,
like straight up
liquid, ready to go.
Which we want to talk about how people purchase these cars. Is it credit card? Is it like? Because no one's like going for the 6%, right? Interest rates or how does it work?
So, so we're talking about the polarities of my industry, right? So we're talking about the VIPs, and these guys are wires. Let's just send me the wiring instructions.
Done.
And then the
Straight
wire.
cash.
That's it. Yeah.
Straight cash.
They're not financing. They're just not. They're not. The client that I mentioned that I have in Florida, he owns $30 million in cars, titles all in hand, like at home. And then you have the exact opposite end of that spectrum where you have people that have, I got 20,000. What exotic car can you put me into if I have $20,000 down? And they're stretching and reaching, and the reality is they probably shouldn't buy that car because the cost of ownership is probably too great to actually maintain and operate it. So yeah, then you have people looking for, like, you got your Woodside Financial. They'll finance people up to 144 months. So you can effectively get a mortgage on a car with them if you qualify.
Wow.
144 month financing is an option.
So people seriously are going debt.
Yeah.
Real debt.
Have you been to Miami?
For the look.
Have you been to Miami ever?
Absolutely.
What do you think everybody in Miami is worth fucking $10 million?
Absolutely not.
No, they're not. They're absolutely not.
Yeah, people paying $3,000-4,000 a month for a car.
On the low end.
Really?
That's if you have good credit, $3,000-4,000 a month. If you suck and you shouldn't have, like, legitimately, if you have like a 550 credit score, but you got a little bit of cash, $250,000 car is costing you $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 a month. And then somebody with good credit that could actually afford the car, they're paying $2,500 for the same car because you're getting clobbered. They got no remorse. It's like a hard money loan for a car. And the dream from the lender in that instance is they want you to fuck up. They want you to fuck up because they already took your big down payment. So they got no risk. They expect you to mess up. They got your down payment. They got a tracker in the car. So all that financing, they put trackers in the cars. So they know where that car is at any given moment. You miss that payment, you're done. They're taking the car back. It's worth the same money they sold it to you, but now they got 75 grand of your bread, and they're going to go sell it again and hope this guy fucks up too.
Wow, what a game.
So that's a total, those are two very different sides of the exotic car world.
Predatory lending for the fake.
Fuck it. 100%. 100%.
Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. That's the best way to put it. And it's so my background, I've been doing the exotic car thing for a decade now. But prior to that, I went to college at Northeastern. I studied finance, and during that time, mortgages was the thing. So that's my background. So when you talk about predatory lending,
absolutely,
that's unfortunately I came up in that. So that's what I did. I did that for my first part of my career.
You also cars for 10 years.
Yeah.
But let's roll back.
Yeah.
Out of high school.
So,
tell us a little bit about that.
I come from an immigrant family. I'm the first one in my family, including siblings, that was born here. My brother and sister were both born in Sicily. I was married in Sicily actually 2 years ago too, so I have really strong ties to that place. So out of high school, I went to Paramus Catholic. I've always worked. I've literally had a job since I was 10 years old. My parents owned a cafe that we lived above. So the cafe was here. We lived on the second story, and the whole family worked in the cafe. So I've had a job since I was...
Humble beginnings.
Very humble beginnings. Very humble beginnings. We came from absolutely nothing. My dad came here, started a painting business with like a couple shekels in his pocket, and was going after the American dream, which he caught a piece of and then missed a large piece of, and then me and my brother have picked up the slack on that. So I went into college for finance. I worked in the mortgage business. I worked for Countrywide as a loan officer, then a team manager, then a branch manager. Then I got recruited by New Century. I became a regional vice president, so I had 250 employees in 5 offices.
Corporate all day.
Corporate sketchy. Have you ever seen the movie Boiler Room?
Of course.
It was Boiler Room.
Okay.
It was 100% Boiler Room.
Okay.
It was really fun. It was a really fun time. I look upon it with extremely fond memories, but I was 20-something years old, making $500,000, and I pissed it away. I pissed it all away. Yeah, I pissed it all away.
And it's always, you know what's really interesting about it? And it always seems as though people like us, when we get the opportunity, like you struggle so hard, you're like, I'm doing everything I ever wanted to do and do it right now. I don't know how you avoid that unless you have some type of mentor, which I didn't. You know, that's key. and most folks don't. You have business, that's a tricky word, like, to be honest with you. I think we give too much credence on what a mentor is versus a coach.
Sure.
Right? Someone who's coaching you, spend a little time with you is different than someone who's pouring in you all the time, all day, stopping you, pausing you, giving you direction. Hey, man, you got the big check? Let's talk.
And does it from a place of caring.
Of course. I remember when I got my first big check, I was working at MCA Records, and I'll never forget my first real car purchase, because my first car was an Opel GT. Right?
Opel?
I had an Opel.
Hell yeah, dude.
Burned it out.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows.
They don't know what the Opel is.
That's cool.
Yeah, and
they're making a supercar now.
Are you serious?
It's not going to come here because we don't get Opel anymore.
Right.
But I went to the really famous car show in France that's called Retromobile.
Okay.
So it's like the to-do of car shows in the world, and they released a really cool. You should look it up.
What they pricing at?
Oh, I think it's just a concept right now.
Okay.
I don't know if they're actually going to build it.
Yeah, because I might want somebody to gift me,
Yeah,
at the end of the day, you can put it in the universe.
I'll make a wish list for you.
So it was crazy when I got my first real job in the music industry, the one that paid, not the first one, the one that really paid. I was on 1755 Broadway. That's where MCA was. And I'll never forget turning on BET and Jay-Z's video. It was the video that came on. He had the bubble-eyed Lexus. And I'll never forget that at that moment, I got up from my desk, left the office, went down to 12th Avenue and bought that same bubble-eyed, cream Lexus.
Sure.
And that's just the impact of what hip-hop had, right?
I mean, he's done that across so many different things. I mean, look at what he did for fucking Cristal, and then they shit the bed, and then they did that whatever ill comments they made about rappers or whatever, and then they went to, what did they go to after that? It was Cristal. No, it was Ace of Spades. Yeah. I don't remember.
But the crazy thing is, it just shows first money, right? Now,
yeah, it probably wasn't the smartest thing.
It wasn't this. I bought that before I bought the car.
Before you bought the house.
Before I bought the house.
Sure.
Or bought the condo, right? So it was crazy. I had a car and I'm parking it like looking nuts.
I'm
looking nuts.
Yeah.
I'm looking nuts, right? But it just shows the impulse aspect, right?
Sure.
And how it's important to get to toy level or impulse. You got to have a lot of things in play first.
I mean, you should.
You should
Ideally, but you certainly don't have to.
Yeah, but you should.
I agree with that.
You should. Because it's a different game. Like the people who are buying your cars, they're not in the position of, it's not their only investment.
So I have a client. Actually, he's become a really good friend of mine. He owns. I won't say the name of the company, it's irrelevant, but he owns a firearms manufacturer. Mm-hmm. He also owns 40 to 50 hotels. He also owns every parking garage in the city of Detroit. And he owns. And he has created his own limit. Now, this guy could buy a $5-10 million car if he wants to, and he loves cars. I manage his whole collection. Mm-hmm. Every car he buys is from me. I sold him 3 cars last week. I sold his partner the car that I have in this parking lot. Mm-hmm. He's buying that, the weird car I told you about.
Which is nuts.
Which is nuts. So he bought that on a phone call. He'd never even seen or heard of the car. He's like, yeah, I'll take it, ship it. The only point I'm making is he could buy whatever he wants. And he has the discipline. He's trying to get somewhere, and he's trying to accomplish something that he's limited himself. His max is $1 million. That's the most he will spend on a car, $1 million. Mm-hmm. And he has $1 million like I have 1,000. So just discipline. He has things he's looking to accomplish and milestones he's looking to reach. I mean, he's got a plane and a helicopter. He could have any car he wants. He just, nope, $1 million. That's it. That's where I'm at right now.
So when did you realize you had enough of corporate though? Because it seems like you're definitely one of those people who is chasing greatness in your own way. Yeah. Right? You're trailblazing, obviously, in the space, but this isn't the first space you were in.
No. So I kind of realized I don't deal well. I have a ton of respect for people that garner it or demand it. I don't have any respect for authority's sake. And corporate...
The boss.
Yeah. I got
Yo, you just the boss because you're the boss.
First of all, calling someone your boss is, to me...
That's crazy.
It's crazy to me.
Yeah,
I can't do it. I'm not built for it. So when I was... I guess the moment... I've kind of always known that. I've always been like my own dude. Mm-hmm. I've always done my own thing and saw my own vision. I've never been a follower predominantly. But I was a loan officer. When I was in college, I was a loan officer. I was making crazy money. And the way it works, or the way it worked back then in the business was, as you became the top loan officer, you'd get tapped to be a team leader. And when you became a team leader, you'd manage a team. I think my team was like 6 or 7 guys. So one of the other dudes that was a team leader got offered a branch, which is the big money. Mm-hmm. Branch managers back then were making $750, $1 million
a year.
A year. Yeah. Oh, bro, this was the heyday of the mortgages.
Oh, countrywide.
Yeah, that's where I worked.
Yo, man, we might start fighting in
dude, that's where I worked.
I got one bunk loan from y'all.
Oh, bro, I'm sure.
But they lost the paperwork. Like, the shit was crazy. They lost paperwork and everything. When it went under, like, Countrywide was some real fugazi,
Bro,
nuts.
I don't want to get sued.
Yeah, well, we're not
by
going to
some
do
type
it.
of cease and desist. So this didn't happen at Countrywide. But when I walked in as a loan officer, they there was guys that had, you know, those X-ray light boards when you go to the doctor.
Yeah.
There was guys that had that on their desks. So why? Why would they have that on their desks? So they could forge documents. So they would take documents, X-Acto knives. It was fucking wild.
Nuts.
It was the Wild West. It was the absolute Wild West. Once again, not at Countrywide. This is a not aforementioned place.
Got you.
I'm talking about guys cracking pills on desks, snorting lines on desks. This was legitimately wild. Anyway, so the moment that I noticed was one of the TMs tapped me on the shoulder. He goes, "I want you to be my TM. I got an office in Pearl River. I'm going to become a branch manager. They're opening up a new office in Pearl River." I'm like, "Fuck yeah, let's go!" Super excited. But I'm the number one loan officer in that branch now. So I go to the GM and I'm like, "Hey, just want to let you know," and this is my boy Nikita. Nikita and Arthur got Pearl River. I'm going to be going to be a team manager there. And like what a mentor, like we said earlier, should do, or a leader, or a legitimate, like a guy who's really earned his spot, knows what it's like to make his way up, should have been like, "Oh, that's sick, congratulations," or whatever. This motherfucker kicked a garbage can across the room and told me to leave.
Wow.
I didn't leave. I finished my lunch and then I left.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's kind of when I knew. Like I can't work for someone who expects of me what he couldn't do himself.
Exactly.
Now I can work for somebody if I'm going to learn from you. Like my new business partner, who is the majority owner of the dealership, is what a sweetheart. Sweetheart, and he's been doing it for 40 years, and he's bright and intelligent, and he's just a great dude. Like, and I can work with somebody like that, but with, not for. That's kind of my thing.
So, what's interesting about all of that, from where you started to where you are now, what have been the biggest challenges for you though? Like, you're at a crazy level and still ascending, kind of like unicorn chasing, right? But
that's funny. That's what we call the cars that you mentioned, the McLaren F1.
Yeah.
Those are unicorns. So literally, when I'm traveling the world going to look for those cars, I'm going unicorn hunting. Legitimately, like you said. So it's funny.
Yeah, but so what have been the biggest challenges for you?
So all of my roles have been sales related. Mm-hmm. So I guess the biggest challenge of doing that is it's the biggest reward simultaneously. You only get to eat what you kill. So it's every day, day in and day out, you have to be on it. You have to be on it and cultivating relationships and pipelines and doing so diligently and well and efficiently. And then there's an entire other side of the business that you have to maintain and manage, which is the operations side, which is enormous because you're talking about enormous sums of money and titles and really big deals. So the biggest challenge for me is staying driven and not getting burnt out, because there is a capacity for burnout in what I do. There just genuinely is.
Is there a place for AI in your business?
There's a place for AI in the car business, and it's already starting to permeate. There's not really a place for AI in this realm.
Gotcha.
Because there's not enough data. So AI runs off data. So for example, if you take so dealerships operate based on the premise of wholesale versus retail, right? So selling for X or buying for X and selling for Y. And that's the arbitrage between the two. Mm-hmm. So they buy inventory to sell it for a profit, and that's the arbitrage in between. Now, the more sales or the more cars there are, so for example, let's use Toyota Camry, the most common car in America and the most popular car simultaneously. So I don't know how many of those are sold every year, but it's fucking hundreds of thousands. So that means that on the secondary market, tens of thousands of those cars hit. So tens of thousands of those hitting and selling and dealers buying them are tens of thousands of data points, which AI can interpret and then manipulate and put into business. Now, in the exact inverse, let's say even a common exotic car, a 488 Ferrari, which they made a couple thousand. There's only 5 transactions wholesale. So how is AI going to help and interpret? What I do is more art than science because there's not enough data. I have to use my knowledge and a little bit of data to paint a picture. So I'm really shooting from the hip. And that's why there's a human touch to that that's necessary.
Let me ask you this. I was thinking, listening to you talking about how the economics could lay out, but is there a way, or does it exist in your business where, say for instance, if I was able to find 3 friends and say, let's all put together, I don't know, $500,000 because we want to buy, because the margin might be, is there a business in that, or is that what people do?
So wait, when you're saying that, do you mean you put together a few friends to buy a car to
No,
share?
A car to resell, which would be no different than like investing in a house.
Oh, yeah, of course.
Okay.
So I have
So they're investment groups.
So what you're describing doesn't exist in a vacuum by any stretch of the imagination. But me personally, you need, first of all, in order to do that, you need me.
Gotcha.
And I don't mean me specifically. You need a person like me.
You, of course.
So the answer to your question is yes, absolutely. So when 3 years ago, I did my first, I guess it wasn't really my first, but my biggest deal I had done. I flew to Germany and I bought a Carrera GT. So
retails?
At the time, over $2 million.
Okay.
Right now, in the 1.5, 1.7 range. I bought. So it was the lowest mile one in existence. So it was the
lowest miles.
Yeah.
Oh, one. Oh, the lowest mile car in existence.
That I've been aware of, and that's still that I've seen to this day.
Okay.
And it's actually a guy that I know now is the owner. I didn't buy it. He didn't buy it from me, but he bought it from the auction.
Gotcha.
So anyway, I went to Germany and I bought this car for $1.35 million. At the time, I had my own shop. I had a $3 million line of credit and I had $1 million in cash. But I had a showroom full of cars. So my line of credit was shot and I didn't want to shoot my only shot with $1 million. So I tapped one of my wealthy clients and I go, hey, you want to make a bunch of money? I'll pay you 75 grand. You lend me 135 and I'll pay you back in a week. He goes, yeah, absolutely. I brought that car back. I sold that car for $1.85 million. It was a $500,000 transaction for me, which was my biggest deal of my life at that time.
Damn.
I mean, there was a couple other people involved, I didn't net $500,000.
I'm just staying on.
Oh,
the margin.
Yeah.
Right. That's crazy.
But that's not normal. Don't get it twisted.
But you got to be in the game, though.
You got to be in the game.
You got to be in the game.
So I did one of these.
Do they ever go bust?
Do I ever lose money?
Yes.
Oh, fuck yeah. You want to talk about me losing money?
Yeah, let's go to the other side of the combo.
So, and this is kind of why I left the independent game, because I was having a little too many of these. So I bought a Lamborghini Aventador SVJ. Mm-hmm. You know the car? Mm-hmm. Cool. Pretty popular car right now. It's probably just under hypercar status. Mm-hmm. They used to trade for over $1 million. Now they trade in the upper 800,000 to 900,000 range. So I bought one from a wealthy guy in Beverly Hills. When you sell a dealer a car, you got to sign a couple of documents. You sign a bill of sale and you sign an odometer statement. An odometer statement is a federally bonded agreement.
But stay with your point.
Yep.
But there's always a guy that knows a guy.
Well, that's where
I'm going.
Okay. That's where I'm going. So you don't even need to know a guy anymore with Lamborghinis. With Lamborghinis, you can go on eBay and you can buy a little port to pop into the bottom of the OBD2. So in every fucking new car, by your left knee, there's going to be a little port. Whether you have to pull down a thing or whatever, it's how they do the diagnostics on all new cars. Since I forget the year where OBD2 started, but it was like late 90s. So there's a little, and there's a plug with like a bunch of little mouths. And you plug this thing in, and it literally stops the odometer on your car. Stops it.
You said you can go on eBay?
You can buy that on eBay.
That's
right now. It's crazy.
But the dealers know and the manufacturers know.
But they didn't at the time. Now we know.
Oh,
so this was at the
beginning.
beginning.
For a minute.
This was at the beginning. So I got is the point of this.
Got it.
So I bought a car that was supposed to have 1,000 miles, okay? I paid $850,000. I wholesaled it. I didn't retail it. I wholesaled it to a dealer. Actually, a dealer I still do a ton of business with to this day, and this is why, and I'll explain it to you. They plugged the car in because it's a Lamborghini store. So the only place that miles are recorded on a Lamborghini is not just on the fucking dash. It's recorded in several other places, the key of which is in the transmission, which there is no such blocker for the transmission. So when the car goes to Lamborghini, they plug it in, they go, this 1,000-mile car actually has 16,000 miles. So what do you think that does to a value of $1 million car?
Get it out of here.
It destroyed me.
Yeah, get it out.
So not only get it out of here, I had to buy it back. from them.
At a discount.
No, at the same money. So I paid them what they paid me. So all my profit's gone.
Gotcha.
And then I had to resell it as a 16,000-mile car. I lost $180,000 that day. It was a bad fucking day. And that's not the only one. I got plenty of those stories. They exist over and over again. But
that's part of the game.
It is part of the game.
But not anymore, though, right? Or
now
there's less.
There's a lot. I mean, it's still happening from unsavvy buyers and sellers and stuff. It's still taking place. But no, now I don't buy a Lamborghini unless it's driven to a Lamborghini store. They plug it in and they do what's called a beta scan. So I see the beta scan and then I'll send the wire. No problem.
Nobody knows that.
Probably consumers don't know.
Guys who are buying.
Sure.
Like they have no idea.
No idea.
Zero.
No idea.
Y'all need to pay for this information.
Yeah.
Because that's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, that cost me $200,000 to learn.
So how long you been powerlifting? And how did you get to that, man? And let's talk about the max out.
Yeah, so that's another business that I was in. I owned gyms. I owned a gym. In 2011, I opened a gym in Carlstadt, New Jersey called CrossFit Meadowlands. Yeah. Like a rough and tumble type gym, 6,000 square foot warehouse with garage doors. It used to be like a trucking warehouse. I still had like the pulleys and stuff in it. So I opened that after. So let me take it back one step. So after 2008, the mortgage business crumbled, which I told you I was in. I had made a bunch of money. So I sold my condo, I sold my M3, and I bought a van. And me and my pit bull drove across country, and I lived in California on the beach for like 2 years. And I was like, all right, I'm going to start running out of money soon. I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And I was like, what am I going to do? So me and my brother put together a plan, and we got into the medical industry. We opened an MRI center in Saddlebrook, New Jersey called Pinnacle MRI. And that was the worst business I've ever been involved in. It made money. It made a bunch of money. But it is an unscrupulous, really litigious business, and I absolutely hated it. So I had my brother buy me out of that business, and at that point, I had just gotten really into lifting, and I was like, I'm going to take that bread and I'm going to open my own gym because I'm passionate about this. This was my passion project. I wanted to give back to people what I was getting from lifting, which was like clarity of mind and that kind of thing. So I opened CrossFit Meadowlands. I owned that for like 4 years. I sold it to the kid that was working for me. His parents bought it for him. And then I continued powerlifting beyond that. My maxes, I haven't competed in a year, but my maxes previously, I deadlifted 815, I squatted 760, and I benched 440.
Why? Yo.
Probably because I'm a little crazy.
So let me ask you this. So high school, I played football.
Yeah, I played football in high school too for a little bit.
I think my max squat back then might have been 330-ish on my back. Yo, I'm paying for all of that now.
Yeah, well,
I'm paying for all of that
in back or
now.
In knee or
back.
both. Back. Sciatica stuff.
I'm crazy, but I don't want to get too into that. But that was from lifting improperly.
Yeah,
obviously we had no.
Which is notorious for high school gym rooms.
Yo,
nobody's watching you. No. You're just in there. Everyone's screaming.
Yeah,
it's just fucking it's pandemonium.
Yes.
Powerlifting has a little bit of that, but it's way more linear. So the progression of powerlifting is actually that. They call it linear progression. So it's pounds over period of time. So yeah, I wasn't inherently strong, to be honest with you.
Is that your outlet?
Yeah. I just finished building a full powerlifting gym in my house. Yeah, that's my shit. That's my shit.
You do a lot of this unspotted?
I do it exclusively unspotted. Yeah.
Why?
Well, first of all, I don't have anybody to spot me. Even if my wife got behind me, all it would do is injure her. So there's no. So that sounds very unsafe to the untrained eye. It's just not. That's categorically not true.
Okay.
The first thing you learn, or the first thing you should learn in powerlifting, is how to bail out of a failed lift. Know when it's not going to happen. Also, my rig has support beams, so I can dump a bar to the rack, and it won't crush me. But at the same time, just removing your hands from a back squat and walking forward is how you dump a squat. That's it. Just walk forward. Yeah. People get caught up in this position and then they get crushed at the bottom. So
Man, I'll be scared, throwing up in my house.
well, benching is more dangerous. More people die from benching than any other activity because they do it with this stupid monkey grip like this, and their hands slip and they get a fucking barbell right into their face. People die every year like that, literally. Yeah, which is an insane way to die, but.
It's a whole different kind of lights out.
Yeah, that's wild. That's super wild. But yeah, no, that's my outlet. It allows me to, I don't know, I get to be a little crazy and primal and shit. Mm-hmm. And my brain is a brain. I don't know if you have this, but my brain never stops talking to me. Mm-hmm. So I don't get any peace. Even when I sleep, I sleep extremely poorly for the same reason, because I'm constantly
thinking.
Just constantly. I can't stop it. I meditate now to work on that. So I meditate twice a day to try to get my brain to quiet down a little bit. But the only time it's genuinely quiet is 2 times: when I'm racing cars and when I'm powerlifting.
Which is insane that you say that. For me, it's hiking.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I went hiking with my pit bull today.
Yeah, it's hiking. That's the only real quiet time that I get. So I understand full-heartedly the point that you're making with that. Let me ask you. So, what do you want to be remembered? Who are you?
I don't think I have any aspirations of legacy, to be honest with you.
Nah, man. You got more than that. You're not here to exist. You're bigger than that, right?
I don't know. Okay. I'm here to be a good person, for sure. I'm here to be somebody people can rely on, and that's an extremely small circle of people that can rely on me, but they know they can. I'm the guy you can call at 2 o'clock in the morning, and if it's bury a body or pick you up from the side of the road, I'm that guy. So I'm that. I'm a support system for people. I want to leave the world a better place than I found it, in whatever means that can be, whether that be through philanthropy or just helping people that I love and so forth. But as far as legacy is concerned, that's not. I don't find myself to be in a position for that to concern me quite yet.
You have so much to offer. You would be an amazing mentor for a group of people who are looking for that next opportunity, that next step in thinking.
Sure.
Right. Opportunities come and go, but people that matter in your life will always be there. And I would imagine at some point, as we all realize, everyone's not for you. But I could imagine at some point there'll be a connection of that generation of people that you can benefit.
I've honestly attempted to do that for a couple people, and it's worked out not to my benefit, almost
crazy?
exclusively.
Nobody wants to work.
Almost exclusively.
Nobody wants to listen.
Yeah.
But we don't give up.
No, categorically not. First of all, as an entrepreneur, there is no giving up. Because there's no golden parachute, right? You have to continue on.
It's a great point.
Yeah, you have to continue on. You have to persevere. That's part of it. That you have to have that mentality for that.
What is the distance between where you are in your profession versus the young guy who wants it?
Elaborate further.
Have you identified? Are there young people who are trying to now pursue in the business that you're in, cutting their teeth to become?
And where do I fall in that line?
Yes.
What do you mean by that?
Where are those people? Where do you find them at?
So what I do is really unique. There's a couple hundred people in the country that do what I do. Genuinely. Yeah,
very small.
That actually do it. Now, there's a bunch of guys that sit in their basement and try to broker car deals when they couldn't put together enough money for fucking pizza That exists. But the guys that are genuinely doing this is a really small group. I'm not even sure the young generation of kids really understand that this even exists. I worked in the car business, and I didn't even know this existed, like what I do now.
So if it's such an exclusive club, so you guys invite who you want in or not?
I don't know. I was not invited, I can tell you that. I kind of kicked my way in. So I told you I moved to California, and then I came back and I started this company. After that, I missed the hustle of hustling. Owning a gym, I made good money. Like, the gym made money, and I felt like I got to help a few people. I got a couple crying hugs. You changed my life. That was cool. No, like, legit, it was cool. But then most of it was, I need to lose 40 pounds in 2 weeks because my wedding. And I'm like, wrong gym. Have a nice day. So I missed the hustle of entrepreneurship. Right. So I was like, what can I do? I can sell anything to anyone, and I'm passionate about cars. So I started to make phone calls. And Ferrari is my thing. Like, my dog's name is Enzo. So I've been a passionate Ferrari guy forever. So I called Miller Motorcars in Greenwich, Connecticut. And at the time, they were the closest Ferrari dealership to me. I called them, like, hey, I want to sell Ferraris. They go, you have any experience? I'm like, no, nothing. They're like, yeah, we're not interested. I was like, all right. So then I go in, I'm all dressed in that, because I had money. I had made a bunch of money. So I'm driving a nice car, I'm wearing a nice watch, I'm wearing the suit, the whole thing. I go in, I'm like, hey, I'm here to see the GM. And I give him the whole pitch. You don't have to teach me cars. I know cars, and I can sell anything. He's like, yeah, that's not how it works. You got to go sell other stuff. You can't just come work at Ferrari. It's like joining the major leagues and you've never played baseball before. And I was like, all right, fair enough. So then I'm sending lunches. Once a week, I send lunch to the whole dealership.
Oh, it's old school.
Yeah, old school.
This is old school.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sending lunch to the dealership. Just wanted to keep my name in the mix. Let me know when you can use me. And then I sent a pair of shoes with a note, and the pair of shoes said, just looking to get my foot in the door.
And cheesy. Yeah, we back to old school and cheesy, but it works. That's the crazy thing.
Not only did it work, 2 or 3 weeks later, I got a phone call. We go, listen, we got an opening for you. We want you to come in. And that was it. And that's how I started. That's how I started in the car business.
So you know what? You just made some very salient points of what the value of persistence is, and what happens with a lot of people. All of us have like a very common thread that pulls, is continuing to push. And ultimately, I have that same story with I think it might have been a thing, or it's a generational thing.
Sure.
With the
shoes?
shoe.
You did the shoe thing
man,
too?
Everybody.
Let's go.
Come on.
I
FedEx letters. I did all kind of things.
To be honest, if I got to give credit, I think my older brother taught me that move.
It was a thing, baby.
Yeah.
It was.
My brother's 10 years older than me.
It was a definite thing, but what it really taught you was the importance of persistence and ideas, and letting people know that you'll go the extra distance.
Thinking out of the box, bro.
And thinking out of the box to get it
For
done.
sure.
Right? I want it.
I want it.
I want it.
I want
and
it.
It's okay to say it.
Not only I want it, but I can fucking do it.
Yep. Exactly.
And I did. And I did do it.
Exactly. And especially where we sit now, nobody wants it. Well,
they want it.
They don't want it.
They don't want to do what it takes to have it. And that's the fucking enormous difference between those who have and those who want.
Yep.
It is the discipline to not take no for an answer. It's to not take no for an answer, and that's what it is. I use this term all the time, inevitability. My life is inevitable. I'm coming for all of it.
Oh, I like that.
I'm coming for all of it. Everything everybody said I couldn't have and that I wasn't good enough for, I'm coming for all of it. It's just what it is for me. And that's my discipline every day. When I wake up 6 a.m. and I sit in front of my desk or whatever it is.
It's an amazing conversation. Where can the people find you?
So I'm not huge on social media, but I have one. It's Anthony Exotics on Instagram. Exotics is plural, Anthony Exotics. Soon to be seated at McLaren, North Jersey. Right now you can find me at Lotus Summit Lotus.
We keep bringing them to you. Now listen, you might not be able to afford this car, but you got to think that you can. And now you know the guy who can sell you one.
Let's go.
Another great episode of On Impact. And Anthony, appreciate you so much for coming.
Thanks, Benny.
All right.
Appreciate you, bro.
All right.